I don't believe that Detroit Become Human is a good game. Hold on, give me a second. Me saying that Detroit Become Human isn't a good game doesn't mean that I didn't have fun or it can't be enjoyable to the player. A lot of things are subjective, and it's a really bold claim I'm making. However, stick with me. Get back to the intro montage. This part of the recording is coming a day later. I don't know if you guys can pick up on the visual cues, the cover, how groggy I look, my hair. But I kind of wanted to elaborate on what I meant by I think the game is solid, but there are a couple nuances and details that I think ruin the immersive experience for me. Now, before we get into what I think makes Detroit Become Human a meh game, I think it's important to talk about what makes it a good game. Brian Detchard and Clancy Brown killed the performance playing as both Hank and Connor. I think it's the only great part of the game, I would say, and they just steal the show absolutely every time they're on scene. One thing I think it's interesting and important to note is that every time like a memorable moment comes up, it's off script. It's never on script, and I think that's a testament to this game's writing, which I'll get into later. There are three really weak points of this game that I would like to address, those being the plot twist, the inability for David Cage to have social commentary that's actually effective and pushes perspectives different than what we already know, and lastly, the lack of conversation being sparked from this game. And trust me, we'll get into that. I know that's really broad and I'm not going into depth about what that means yet, but trust me, we will get there. A plot twist is a sudden and unexpected change in the direction or outcome of a story that surprises and challenges the reader. Plot twists can add suspense, intrigue, and emotional impact to your writing, but they can also backfire if they are not well crafted or foreshadowed.
Alice.
I should preface, I will never go to Oxford study. I am not a Harvard professor. I do not study in linguistics or literature. But please, watch this scene and analyze it.
You knew from the beginning. You just didn't want to see it. She wanted a mom, and you wanted someone to care for. You needed each other. What difference does it make? Do you love her any less now that you know she's one of us? Alice loves you, Kara. She loves you more than anything in the world. She became the little girl you wanted, and you became the mother she needed. Forgetting who you are to become what someone needs you to be. Maybe that's what it means to be alive.
Now, we've already identified what makes a good and what makes a bad twist. Now, in this question I'm about to ask you, it isn't a rhetorical one, but it also isn't a trick one. Genuinely, put it down in the comment section. What does this twist do? Because based off my criteria and what I view as a good twist, this twist actually does more harm for the story than good. Now that we know that she's an android, instead of asking the question is it possible for an android to love a human child and for those feelings to be reciprocated by a human to an android, we get, does an android know how to love another android, which Kara is made to serve, to labor, and to love. And the Alice robot is also made to love as a robot child. It just doesn't serve the same purpose. Hello, post-editing Jaden here. And I was thinking about something. The forced conflict through Alice being a robot that the game creates artificially makes zero sense. I'll show you in an editing example, but I was thinking about it. There are some moments in the game where her being a robot means that what we did prior to those knowledge made zero sense. If she was a human, however, these would hold actual impact to the game. For instance, an instance of this happening is during the chapter, which I don't know the name, I'll most likely put it up. You and Alice escape Todd, and you have to find a sustainable place to stay for the night. During this excursion, you have to take multiple factors into account. Alice is a human child, meaning things like heat, air conditioning, food, water, and safety are all things that you have to take into consideration when you decide where you want to stay. Now, and if she's a human and this twist doesn't happen, this holds a bunch of external factors upweight. Now, think about it. A human can't get in the car with wet clothes. They'll be sick. An android, just turn the temperature off. Do you see the problem and the issue with this? There are tons of other instances too where this can happen. And it makes you think, why didn't we just turn this off or turn this other setting off? It is just conflict for the sake of being conflict, which happens more than one time, and trust me, we will get into that very, very soon.
Today is April 4th, the anniversary of Martin Luther King's death. He was murdered in 1968 in Memphis.
I'm an African American male, as you can clearly tell by my skin color, but I'm also a Asian American. My granddad came from Vietnam, and I'm saying all this to tell you that I don't have the expertise in race or politics to tell you that what David Cage is doing when it comes to social commentary is good or bad. But I'll leave it here. I'll put it all on the table, and you tell me what you think. There's a chapter named Shades of Color. Android's designated spot on the bus is the back. And come on, really? You don't have to spell it out for us, David Cage. We get it. Trust me, we get it. And you know, this actually wouldn't have been a problem if he didn't state that the metaphors weren't intentional, which they were. So it's kind of weird. Why would a author of a book or a developer of a game make a game that's clearly about social commentary, but on the other hand, not outright say it's about social commentary, and then throw around the word slave, which, trust me, there's a lot of it. But that leads into my last point, which I've been talking about the entire time. At the beginning of this video, I said, and lastly, the lack of conversation being sparked from this game, and trust me, we'll get into that. I know that's really broad and I'm not going into depth about what that means yet, but trust me. Well, here we are at the end of the video. In my opinion, the last and biggest point of this entire game is the lack of sci-fi discussion, or at least it does, but it's not any good. I'll give a couple instances from the game and then contrast it, which I think are pretty good moments of sci-fi discussion from other sources of media, and I'll talk about where it works and where it doesn't.
Have you never wondered who you really are? Whether you're just a machine executing a program or a living being, capable of reason.
Program her to like me, or not.
I programmed her to be heterosexual, just like you were programmed to be heterosexual.
Nobody programmed me to be straight.
You decided to be straight? Please, of course you were programmed. By nature or nurture or both. And to be honest, Caleb, you're starting to annoy me now because this is your insecurity talking. This is not your intellect.
What? For a bunch of machines? They are not machines! They are alive! I'm alive! You're alive! They're nothing!
Now, before we continue, I wanted to linger on this last point before I go into the next and final excerpt. Detroit Become Human is surrounding itself always with the words living and human and, most of all, sentient. But one of the most important things in sci-fi discussion is defining the word. What does it mean for something to be sentient? Because being sentient isn't just tied to human life. There are plenty of things, life on Earth, that aren't just humans, that are sentient, that are living. So how would you define the word living? This last excerpt is from Star Trek, and I think it's a perfect interpretation of talking about sci-fi knowledge and how to define something and how to have a conversation about something that allows for growth and thoughts and thoughtful process.
So I'm sentient, but Commander Data is not.
That's right.
Why? Why am I sentient?
Well, you are self-aware.
Ah, that's the second of your criteria. Let's deal with the first, intelligence. Is Commander Data intelligent?
Yes. It has the ability to learn and understand and to cope with new situations.
Like this hearing?
Yes.
What about self-awareness? What does that mean? Why am I self-aware?
Because you are conscious of your existence and actions. You are aware of yourself and your own ego.
Commander Data, what are you doing now?
I'm taking part in a legal hearing to determine my rights and status. Am I a person or property?
And what's at stake?
My right to choose. Perhaps my very life.
My rights. My status, my right to choose. My life. Well, it seems reasonably self-aware to me.
Alright, here's my closing remarks. The last choice that you make as Marcus in this game is as follows. You can sing, kiss North, do nothing, or commit suicide. Which one of these choices convey that you are sentient and have your own free will? Let's go through them all, shall we? I feel like doing nothing is pretty self-explanatory here. The game doesn't even allow you to really do this option, just an illusion of choice. Detonating the bomb does nothing but prove the humans right in this case, and there's clearly a good ending to this game, so only if you're a lunatic would you ever pick this ending. And singing, how does that prove that Marcus is a sentient being? Especially when he's an android, which is capable of most likely scrolling through a bunch of MP3 files and just picking a random song. What there conveys that he's a human or he's capable of being sentient. And I would assume that the best case scenario here is to kiss North. But even then, how, based off discussions, does that prove that he's sentient? And that's my gripe with this game. They don't ever allow for deeper discussion. Oh, and one more thing. David Cage's ideology and social commentary can be completely deconstructed by critical thinking. To my dear viewer, the reason why slavery was unethical in the United States of America is because humans weren't created with the intention of labor. Androids, however, were invented with the intention of labor. Therefore, meaning owning an android is an ethical option. They were created to be laborers. That's why they went deviant. That's the whole point of the game. I hope you, the viewer, enjoyed this video as much as I enjoyed making it. And if you didn't, that's fine with me. I am always open to constructive criticism and discussion in the comment section as long as we keep it respectful. I have an AP psychology assignment, so I gotta go get to that. I love you all. God bless you and have a great day. I don't think that